Welcome to Envisioned Broadcasting Radio. EB Radio. EB Radio. Your station for empowerment presents Mom Boss Talk Radio, a show that brings real life, real moms, and real experiences to empower mom bosses everywhere to be ambitious, highly driven, fierce, fabulous, and fearless. Mom Boss Talk Radio begins now.
Welcome, mom bosses all over the world. We are so happy and excited that you are joining us. This show is about 3 mom bosses bringing you real life, real experiences to empower you as a mom boss. So today you're going to hear from Mayetta Hamilton, Kiana Morgan, and myself, Jerisha. And let me just add that I am officially Jerisha Smith now. Yay! Y'all, I'm so excited.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Listen, I cannot wait until we can have, or I can talk more about, that and all of that, the kind of just all of the stuff that went along with that on another show. But I truly hope that y'all are ready, because today we have another amazing topic to discuss with you. Mayetta is going to share what that topic is. So go ahead, girl, take it away and tell all the mom bosses what we're talking about today.
Okay, so today's topic is something that's really near and dear to my heart, and I experience it quite often, and it's mental health. And mental health is a very broad conversation, a lot of topics within mental health. But today we're going to tackle anxiety. And considering the time that we're in, a lot of people are having anxiety and a lot of stress. So why not dive deep and discuss ways that we are coping with our own anxiety. And I want to put this out there. We are not medical experts. This is just based on our own experiences. And definitely, if you're feeling overwhelmed and you feel like you can't deal with it, always seek some professional guidance, okay? Now, when it comes to anxiety, there's a few things that I do to kind of help me cope. And this is the little highlight for today. They're not sponsored by any way. They are YouTube channels. One is called Relaxing White Noise, and the other is Chilled Cow. Now, these particular YouTube channels, they don't speak. It's only music or sound, and it's supposed to help ease and calm your nerves, so that way you're in a better place. Now, I suffer from multiple mental health issues, and I personally am not afraid to talk about it, because my issues could, reach someone who probably feel like they're alone. Or for my anxiety, I can't be in large spaces or in groups of people for long periods of time. Anxiety can really be debilitating, and it can really bring you to a state of mind of, okay, what am I doing? Why am I here? Your brain is always constantly thinking, and me being over analytical, that really pushes my anxiety to the forefront. But these 2 particular YouTube channels has really helped me to calm my nerves, and I tend to gravitate to these mostly at night, because of course, being a working mother and, trying to build a business from scratch and trying to, have a long list of to-dos, you need something to take the edge off. So, with anxiety, we always want to try to, figure out our triggers, figure out ways to take away stressors. And it's not easy. Nothing is easy. But knowing that you are able to identify that you have that issue, it really helps put everything in perspective. It's not going to heal you completely. A lot of people like myself, you're probably never going to be 100%, but if you can identify it and know what triggers you, you can start alleviating these things out of your life. So I asked you ladies, Jerisha, what are things that are, in your life that's causing your anxiety, and how do you cope with it?
So I am so happy that we are talking about anxiety tonight, because I really think, as you said, a lot of times so many of us have these issues or deal with these, things from a day-to-day, and yet we feel like, oh, we don't want to share it, or we feel like we can't really talk about it. And so that's in our families, that's in our churches.
Yes.
And so, I really want people to understand that it is okay. It is okay if this is your struggle, if this is something that you deal with from a day-to-day basis, because honestly, a lot of us do. It's just a matter of those that are willing to raise their hand and say, yes, this has been a struggle of mine.
Exactly.
So I will tell you, the first time that I ever experienced anxiety, I had no idea. Like, you hear about anxiety and don't even, like, oh, you're not going to go through it. But it was after I had my second son. And so that was a time when I was going through postpartum and didn't even know it.
Ooh.
And so anxiety came, and my palms got sweaty. My heart was pounding, and I was like, what is happening?
It's not only mental, it's physical.
Exactly. I'm like, what is happening? So I thought, naturally you think, oh my gosh, I'm having some kind of heart attack. Like, it's that flight thing. So I was like, I have to get to the hospital because I don't know what's going on with me. Turns out it was, everything stopped before I even, got to the hospital. But it was, then told to me that, this was an anxiety attack that I went through.
Yeah.
And it even happened after that, where I would be in the store, and I had to leave the store immediately because I'm like, oh, my gosh, something's happening. Yeah. I had to, it was like that flight. You have to take off and get away because you think either, you're going to pass out or something's going to happen. Yep. And so, it was just so crazy. Again, that was all tied into postpartum. Now, you fast forward, years later, and I will tell you guys that because I went through that, I recognize that there is all kinds of things that can be triggers for anxiety. So when you're super stressed, some people can't even, like if they have too much caffeine, there's so many different things that can trigger anxiety. Yes. And so, when I had a similar instance, like years later, I was like, okay, this is anxiety. Why is this happening again? At the age that I am now, and I'm thinking, well, maybe there's something going on with hormones, and I'm about to go into, postpartum, not postpartum, but like, premenopause.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is happening?
You always think of the worst. You always go. Your mind always goes to certain, like, okay, I'm having a heart attack. Why is my arm numb? Things like that. And it's not always necessarily those things. I've had so many of them. I know what it is. That's how bad it is.
That's the thing. Absolutely. But I think what is so important, as you mentioned, is there are triggers for anxiety. So for me, even, fast forward after going through postpartum and my kids are older and everything else, and I'm like, okay, let me look at what's going on in my life right now to where I feel anxious. I feel like, why is all these things happening? Is it tied to my hormones? Is it tied to, at the age, because naturally, the age that I am, it could be, pre-menopause. And so I will tell you that I know you mentioned some great YouTube videos. I will tell you what helped me and was an absolute game changer for me just, fast forward years later, not, realizing that it's not tied. It can't be tied to postpartum because I didn't just give birth to any kind of, any baby. And so I'm like, trying to find resources, and I'm just like, you ladies, when it comes down to, what is a resource? How can I find something that is not necessarily tied to, okay, and again, I wouldn't, we put this out there as far as, not saying that if you have anxiety to a certain, point degree. We're not saying not to go and, seek help from a physician or anything like that. I think each person is different. For me, I knew that it was tied to something, that trigger, because I normally don't suffer from anxiety. And so, when that happened, I was like, okay, let me kind of see what's really going on. And I came across a couple of, this great, one, it was a Facebook group, and then two, it was a book. And when I tell you this book it really opened my eyes. It helped me tremendously. And the book actually has an app too. So I definitely want to share that with you all. So the book, the app, and I even think the Facebook group, it's by the best-selling author Barry McDonough. I think that's how you pronounce the last name. And it's called Dare. So he has a workbook. I think he has a book. And it gives you all these tools to help you in anxiety. And so where you mentioned as far as like it plays, like that meditation type, like the calmingness and all of that, there is, if you're feeling things, as, most of us that have gone through anxiety, when you have that feeling and you feel anxious and it's like, okay, you have all these thoughts that are going through your mind, there's like an app that you go to and you click on whatever you're feeling and it literally talks to you. And it calms you down.
Wait a minute. And so, I need that. I need that immediately. I need that immediately. Immediately. Okay. Yes. Like, it talks to me. It's my friend. I want it.
Okay. It is your friend. When I tell you it's the most calming voice as you're going through, it like walks you through your anxiousness. And I'm like, this is the best thing ever. Like, I wish I had that years ago when I was going through postpartum, because it would have been so beneficial, and it's absolutely an amazing app. I think it's called the Dare app as well. If there's something else to it, I apologize, but I think it is called the Dare app, and it's amazing. The workbook is amazing. It literally just talks about all of the thoughts. It calms you down. It tells you, everything is okay. This is just, like it helps you get through that moment. And when I tell you, I think it's Barry himself that's actually the one, talking to you. It's so calming. You're like, okay, yeah. So absolutely, that was absolute. Like it really helped. It was the best resource. It was the best
I need that. Text that over to me, girl. Text that over to me because I'm gonna download that tonight.
Listen, it's so interesting though because I had a conversation with someone that had shared they were going through anxiety, and I was like, listen, you have to find Barry McDonough. It's his app. The app is free. I want to say, it's free, but there are some there's some things that you have to pay for within it. But the workbook, the Facebook group, it was truly, and she was like, oh, my gosh, thank you so much, because she had shared some things about her husband and how he's suffering, from anxiety and all of that. And I said, you need to look this information up and download the app. It will help him get through those times when he feels like, just feeling that anxiety coming on and all of that. And it was absolutely amazing. So I will definitely make sure I share that information. I'll text you guys the app and all that good stuff. And I encourage anyone, if you even just put his name in the Google, it's Barry and the last name is spelled McDonagh. Absolute game changer. So what about you, Tiana? What has been your experience and any resource that you may have from an anxiety standpoint?
Well, I will say for me, I didn't realize I was depressed at the time, but a lot of my depression came in when I first was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. I had a 2-year-old at the time. I had just finished high school, first year in college. I have this toddler. I'm 19, and I'm like, I don't know what MS is. And, all I knew was Williams had it, and it wasn't very much out at the time. But that was a lot, at that time for me. And after being able to identify that was what I was experiencing, it helped me to come out of my shell a lot, because I was able to seek help. And just over the years, just finding different ways. I went from the depression to having anxiety as well now. And just like I said, I laugh. I tell everybody, I have my therapy Thursdays. That's my me time, to focus on me, and, that's wonderful. Also, just through therapy, learning how to set boundaries with people, because a lot of the times my anxiousness comes from me taking on other people's problems or, what they have going on. So just really setting boundaries, limiting myself to certain people who I know, I don't have time for your drama. I got my own stuff going on, and, just really, being mindful of, of my day and who I'm around. I was talking to one of my clients, and I was telling him, he was just saying how Facebook added a lot of anxiety to his life. And I said, one thing that I did that also helped was I unfollowed people. I don't care what you're eating for dinner. I don't care about, you and your baby daddy or your baby mama's drama. I don't want to hear about that. And so honestly, I can say, out of the things that pop up in my news feed, it's from people that I know are constantly sharing, knowledge or positive or empowering, posts and things like that to encourage me in my journey. Unless I specifically go on your page, I don't know what's going on with you if I don't talk to you on a regular basis. And, that's helped a lot. Just, eliminating that. Also music, that's a great relief. Sometimes just taking a few minutes, when the kids are here, I'm overwhelmed, just even if, we all hide in the bathroom, but, just those few minutes.
I hide in my car.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I do that too.
I hide in my car.
Yes. But, just little things like that, that have really, honestly, for me, made like a world of difference, in my day-to-day and my attitude and things like that. But, like you said, you had mentioned those triggers just about 3 weeks ago. There was a fire in an apartment in my building, and I had damage to my house, and, it was, it was 2 years to the anniversary of when I had, my roof collapsed at my old house. And so it's like, those triggers are all those feelings and emotions and having to deal with this again. And, but when I felt that, I once I recognized, how I was feeling, I reached out to my therapist, I reached out to my psychiatrist. Hey, this is what's going on with me. I don't know how I'm feeling right now, and how to really process this, so, it's been great, now that I am aware of what's going on, I know how to handle it and deal with it, versus in the past when, I may not have had the tools, and like you said, y'all said I do the YouTube, different motivational, just different tones and sounds, like, just to relax. Meditation is wonderful. But other thing, I have a diffuser, just different essential oils. That helps my mood so much too. So, it's just so many different things. Yes, that I've been just finding, and it's the little things, that are really do make a difference.
Yeah, and I want to add too that I want to add that it's okay for people to, if they're feeling like they're kind of closed in certain situations, either it be at work, at home, it's okay to walk away from those situations for the moment to collect yourself. Because my anxiety will get so bad. I've quit jobs due to the high stress and anxiety, because I'm like, I feel depleted. And it was one time where it was so bad that I couldn't drive home myself. My husband had to come out there, and I was just a wreck. I couldn't stop crying.
Mm-hmm.
And the place that I was at that time, they were nice people. It's just the energy. I also go based off of energy and those triggers again. If the energy doesn't feel right, I will get triggered, and I don't feel safe. I have to go. I cannot stay here anymore.
Right.
So I will leave situations like in my house if I feel like I just don't feel like hearing all those extra tones and noises. I go sit in my car. I go sit in my car for at least 20 minutes, and I'll sit there. I'll listen to some sound. I'll listen to some music. I'll listen to a podcast, and I'm like, okay, I need to kind of get my emotions at a good level, so that way, because as a parent, you don't want to put off energy towards your kids. You want to kind of keep a positive energy, even though you're not feeling that great mentally. You want to still, not have them feel that, because energy can be felt. It's in the air,
That's
right. So it's important to try to find a balance, and again, find an outlet, like writing, like you were saying, music. There's certain things that can help you alleviate it, and definitely a psychologist, a psychiatrist, a counselor, a therapist, someone that you can talk to and verbally, tell them, okay, this is on my mind. And a lot of times that's an issue of you're holding so much inside and you don't know how to release it. And so you're constantly tense and you have nowhere to project it. You see what I'm saying? So that's where some of that anxiety can be too. But definitely finding an outlet, knowing your triggers, knowing yourself enough, and knowing to recognize it will definitely help you cope with it. Okay, and also seek a doctor. Get some help.
Yes. And I have to go back to the Dare that I mentioned, because he actually says that, and I'm going to tell you guys what Dare actually means. And just again to kind of share a little bit as far as his story, I want to say that he actually was experiencing anxiety and everything else, and he started working on some tools to help other people, which that's what we're all about, is really trying to help empower other people. And so DARE actually, it's an acronym that stands for diffuse, allow, run towards, and engage. And before I tell you all really, what each one of those mean when it comes down to anxiety, it was put into a way that I never even thought about. So with diffuse, it's where you neutralize the fear as it arises. So replace the scary what-if thoughts with a dismissive so what or whatever. Like, you can handle this no matter what happens. And oftentimes, with anxiety, it's like, oh, my gosh, the world is about to end. Something's about to happen. So, anxiety, it just immediately takes you there. And then with allow, it's tell yourself, I accept and allow this anxious feeling. Because some of us, so many of us are not welcoming of that. It's like, oh, my gosh, we feel so bad that we're even having this feeling, and how is everybody else going to feel? So you're supposed to welcome the anxiety as a protective friend. Resisting it only fuels the fear. And then run towards, you demand more of the anxiety. So this was a piece. I was like, what? What do you mean you want
more? Dropping knowledge. Those are some gems.
Yes. He said, we should say, I am excited by this feeling. Bring it on. I want more. Is that all you got? Because you know that when you're in the midst of anxiety, you're like, you feel so doomed, like that's it. And it's like, no, I got this. You tell yourself that, and trust me, it works. And then engage is where you move your attention to something that fully engages you. So, for example, as some of the things that we've shared, like reading, listening to music, talking, or doing some kind of work, when your mind strays, bring your focus back to the activity that you're working on. And so I truly think that, we're all, of course, in the midst of, 2020 has happened. And I think so many people that didn't have anxiety before certainly has or is dealing with anxiety just because of the craziness that's going on in the world. And so, we are all in the midst of this craziness, and you know, as you two have mentioned, you know, it's okay. You know, it's okay. The thing is, you know, it's important to talk to somebody. It's important to, you know, to seek the help, and not feel ashamed or wrong, you know, about it. You know, this show, of course, is about mom bosses, so I definitely want to make sure we at least highlight, you know, and we've highlighted a lot with, you know, some of our own stories and all of that. But we know that it's really, really common for entrepreneurs to have anxiety because of the fact that, you know, we're pulled in all these different directions, and we have the pressure to grow and continue growing, and, you know, and just to have all and wear all these different hats, and, you know, from a 9 to 5, you know, from a 9 to 5, and then from, you know, doing your business and everything else. There's just so many different ways we're being pulled. So, I truly want to encourage the mom bosses out there that, you know, it's okay. It's truly okay. We want to empower you. You know, we all have shared our stories that we have experienced, are experiencing, and anxiety. You know, we join with you. But the good thing is there's so many resources out there, so many resources. So, I don't know if you two want to add anything else as far as any more resources that you want to share with the mom bosses.
I have two I'm going to share real quick. One thing, you know, everybody's watching Netflix, so I want to share there's a show on there. It's called The Mind Explained, and they had a amazing episode over anxiety, and they also had one about mindfulness, which, you know, I was, you know, all over. But yes, those two episodes under, like I said, it's called The Mind Explained. Oh, it was wonderful. They had a couple other episodes. I watched all of them, but yeah, those two are great resources, and, you know, just really diving deeper into some of the things that we mentioned today. Also, I want to say for people that are resonating with what we said, that may not be seeking help but looking to and don't really know where to start, I would recommend that you go to the ADAA.org. That's the Anxiety and Depression Association of America. You can just plug in your zip code. It will, you know, show doctors in your area. If you don't have insurance or, you know, not sure how you can pay for it, it will give you the resources in your area that, you know, you can reach out to help you with that. So that's the two things that I just wanted to share before we hop off of here.
Absolutely. That's so good. That's so good. I feel like, you know, as we shared before, if you're not experiencing anxiety, I'm sure you know someone that is or that has experienced anxiety. And before we do, you know, in the show, I want us to at least touch on a little bit as far as anxiety in our kids. And I say that because of the fact that I feel like, again, going back to just how 2020 has been, it's been, I mean, like, our world has been turned upside down, but our kids' worlds have been turned upside down.
Exactly.
And I can't tell you how much I've heard from you know, psychiatrists, you know, social workers, everyone that is in that world, how many kids are now suffering from anxiety and depression and all of that. And so I definitely don't want to end our show without speaking to, you know, our kids that are suffering. So, you know, I don't know if you two want to add anything to, you know, to that. Please,
definitely,
by all means.
Yeah, I would definitely say to, when it comes to children, it's a different type of way. It's a different way to kind of approach it because they're very vulnerable. They're not understanding their feelings. So approaching it, you're gonna have to approach it completely different when it comes to children. When it comes to their emotions in general, especially now with the anxiety. It's definitely good to have them write, you know, have them express their feelings on paper so that way they can get their thoughts in order and they can physically see it on paper. Also having discussions with them about their feelings in ways that what will make them happy. During this time right now, a lot of things are shut down, a lot of things are closed, so it's a little harder to kind of take them to places that they may want to go to lift their spirits. But for the most part, even if it's just, going to the park, of course, social distancing away from others, but going to the park, having a little picnic, just you, your child or children, taking a walk around the block. So, to get that energy going and just having an open conversation and let them know it's okay to have the feelings that they're feeling, and make sure you let them know that you're there for them no matter what they're feeling. So that way they don't feel alone and they don't feel like they can't come to you. So mental illness in children is a totally different situation than adults. But definitely when you approach it with care and love always.
Absolutely.
One thing I want to throw in there. No, one thing I was going to add on to that, mentioning the kids, every school district is different. There's some kids that aren't doing the Zoom classes, so they're not even getting that interaction with their classmates, to even see them in that form. So even little things like, setting up maybe private play dates with some of their friends, if that is their scenario where they're not having at least that interaction, through the computer, setting up something with, another parent or, if you have family, different things like that even, just to get that interaction, that social interaction.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I definitely agree. And, I agree with both of you because, when it comes down to anxiety in our kids, I definitely think it's a whole nother bucket, a whole nother world. But it's so, it's just truly crazy how many of our children are now, dealing with anxiety because of, everything that has happened in 2020. And, we, as you mentioned, we just truly have to continue to respect our children's feelings without empowering those fears. Because of the fact that, we may look at it in a different way. And sometimes we have to be willing to see things from their perspective and how they're feeling and what they're dealing with, So that's good. That's really, really good. Well, it has been absolutely amazing. Such a great topic to talk about.
Yeah.
My goodness. Oh, such a great topic.
Thank you for joining us on Mom Boss Talk Radio. Follow each of the Mom Bosses on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. If you love Mom Boss Radio, visit the website at www.envisionedbroadcasting.com. We'd love for you to subscribe, rate, and give a review on iTunes. Until next time.